for anybody that might be watching, I apologize on my end. Technical difficulties yet again. I can't see you in the chat. So if you do have anything that you would like to ask Wendy, I'm sure that she would be happy to respond via comments after the live video is done. Um, but we will continue with the interview. So, welcome to Winterviews, Series 2, Episode 4. I am your host, Catherine Silva, Cat for short, and today we have extraordinary author Wendy Dalrymple here to talk about body horror. How are you, Wendy?
I'm well. How are you?
I am good, considering.
Yeah.
Uh, um, so, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a horror author. I also write romance. I've been doing a little more focus on horror lately. I'm located in Tampa Bay, Florida. And as such, a lot of my stories focus around tropical themes, Southern Gothic themes. I actually try to use Florida Gothic as like a tagline for my work to kind of help brand it and bring it all together and give people an idea of what they're getting into.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and so I also do a little bit of copywriting on the side, you know, to fill in the gaps in between writing.
Cool.
And yeah, that's about it.
And you have a, like, just creepily enough open closet door behind you on camera that is,
Um,
just perfect for
I told you
suspense.
something's gonna pop up.
Um, so today our topic of discussion is body horror. For people who might not be familiar with this genre, would you mind sort of giving a small explanation about what body horror is?
Well, sure. I mean, it's what it sounds like. It's horror focused on the body. I've also seen it called biological horror. So, essentially, just think of all of the squidgy, icky things that could happen to your body, that you could do to yourself or someone else could do to you, and the horror that would manifest from that.
And so how does that differ? How does body horror differ from gore in
Yeah,
books?
that's a tough one because body horror is gore, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at like, let's say a slasher, like Scream or Friday the 13th, and somebody gets gutted and their guts get spilled out everywhere, right? That's gore for the sake of gore. That's icky, that's gross, it's creepy. But if you have, let's say it's a body horror story, and someone is inclined to cut their own stomach open and examine their insides,
Mm.
then that would be more body horror. To me, body horror has a little more of a psychological element. Perhaps it's trying to say something. That doesn't mean it's more elevated or special in any kind of way, but that's just kind of where you go from gore to body horror.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's
Um,
my opinion.
yeah. I mean that makes sense. Um, so that also kind of segues into the next question, which is symbolism in body horror. Because body horror often shows that a character is not only changing on the outside, but is also changing on the inside, perhaps mentally or emotionally, as
Mm-hmm.
they're going through what they're going through. Can you talk about the importance of symbolism in body horror and how you convey it in your works?
Oh, sure. I think one that is relevant to everyone, and that's, a topic that's top of mind for a lot of different people, is bodily autonomy, and not being able to have control of your own body. That's a theme that's very heavy in body horror. Something, whether you're possessed, whether something's growing inside of you, whether you're infested with something, or you have some sort of virus or whatever. Um, that's you being out of control of your own body. And at the end of the day, our bodies are all we really have. It's the one thing that, tethers us to this existence. And so we have to protect it. And so that's, I think, body horror can be very political and in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it was important to tell those stories so that you can see maybe from someone else's point of view.
Yeah. And well, there's a lot of current. Oh, okay. No, no, no. Stop it. Cat is scratching the rug. There's a lot of sort of political body autonomy stuff going on right now in various different subjects, and so it is a very poignant subject in horror. And there's been, I think, a lot of body horror that's come out fairly recently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not just, some of your stuff, but also things certainly surrounding women
Yeah.
and their
There's
reproductive
a
rights.
there's an anthology out right now, and it's called Mine, and I believe it was edited
Mm,
by Nico Bell and Roxy Voorhees. And I've been
yeah.
meaning to read it. It's got some short stories in there from a few of my author friends, and yeah, it's definitely it's what we were talking about. It's all I believe that that's a all the proceeds are going to to fund something from that one. I'm not sure what.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't quite remember, but I knew that that's Creature Publishing, I think is the name of the small press that does it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, there was that one, and then Tenebris Press, I think, put out one last year that
Mm-hmm.
was,
Is it Your Body Is Not Your Body?
yeah,
Is that the one?
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
definitely worth reading as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, several others, which I'm forgetting the names of right now, but all definitely worth checking out. Um, so, I guess we're gonna, for whatever reason, right now, my cat is
It's zooming
crazy.
o'clock.
Yeah. Um, Jeez, I apologize.
Sorry.
So we're gonna shift into how important body horror is to the genre because of some of the things that we have talked about. Um, what is it? What is it? What do you think is important to tell about body horror, and what makes you want to write about it in specific?
Well, I think it's like we all have bodies. We all have. I think that everybody either has some sort of fear of something happening to their bodies, or they have experienced something, whether it's illness or injury, that they can relate to it. And I think that all the different ways you could tell body horror stories can help people. Because I think for me, why I've always read and why I've always written horror is to help me process things that have happened in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that I'll ever fully share all of those body horror things in my fiction
Yeah.
that have happened to me, but I have been able to tap into some of my own fears, and I know that other people, it'll resonate with them as well. And so I think that body horror can sometimes be discredited as just gore or
Mm-hmm.
as, you know, just being gross for the sake of being gross. And it is, but it's also, it's at the very, at the, it's who we are. It's we're blood and guts,
Yeah, it's being
and
gross with a purpose.
yeah, and so it's the symbolism writes itself. You want to. Sometimes you feel like you're gonna burst out of your own skin, and so you turn into a werewolf. And
Yeah.
so that's I think that it's always had a place. And actually, I think that it's been in our subconscious for a very long time, and it's just something that we've always, as people and storytellers, I think, wanted to tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the other common thing with horror is that people who don't read horror um, go into the genre just assuming that authors are telling a story to simply scare you, and
Mm-hmm.
especially in body horror, I mean, there is definitely more to the story than just that shock and awe. It's There is a message that's being told with
Mm-hmm.
body horror. There is usually something deeper going on that the author wants you to sort of clue in about. Um, And of course, a lot of the more recent ones that have come out definitely do have a message that they are trying to get across to you.
Yeah.
So, um, that does kind of go along with my next point, which is that most people do kind of think that body horror is related to extreme horror. They think of just the most grotesque, scary things imaginable, um, and that's not always the case. Um, People have definitely been able to deliver some very poignant, beautiful body horror stories that do not fall within the extreme horror vibe.
Yeah. Well, like recently I read Chandler Morrison's hashtag Thigh Gap, which I don't know if you've read that one yet.
I haven't, but I
Um,
definitely know about it.
and I have not read his other work, Dead Inside, but from what I gather, that's very extreme, also body horror.
Mm-hmm.
But hashtag Thigh Gap was like you were saying, it's got the body horror, but without going to the extreme, and it was really good. It was a good story.
Yeah. Um, I think another one that is worth mentioning is Queen of Teeth by Haley Piper,
Mm-hmm.
which I have not read yet, and I'm ashamed to say I have not read it yet, but I do know that it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely a good one. Um, I guess this goes further into the point. How do you think that body horror is utilized by writers in the genre that don't necessarily follow the extreme horror path? Um, and what are some suggestions of titles that someone maybe has heard of that they might not have thought, oh, this is body horror?
Sure. Well, I think that some of the ones that I've read recently, like The Troop, Nick Cutter's The Troop, and also Eric LaRocca's it's Things Have Gotten Worse
Yeah.
Since We Last Spoke.
Mm-hmm.
Got that one right. They both have similar themes, and they're body horror themes, but the body horror is so like in Nick Cutter's book, it's much more obvious, but in Eric's book, it's subtle and you get it at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for me as a writer who I do read some extreme, but not a lot, and I don't write extreme. I write like I write with subtlety, and I think that that's just the key is subtlety and really focusing on the psychological or the aspect of it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I know with Eric LaRocca's book that the which I don't want to give away anything either, but
Mm-hmm.
he definitely does not go full throttle in that book until closer to the end, I guess, with the body horror, and um and I really wasn't expecting that when I was reading it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I also didn't it didn't make me want to
Mm-hmm.
put the book down either. It was
Yeah.
it led into it very beautifully, and
Mm-hmm.
I think I like the idea that people can um, get into, like you said, the psychological aspect of body horror before it kind of unveils itself,
Mm-hmm.
um, because there's a lot to examine. Um, your mind is changing, your emotions towards your body are changing, um,
Mm-hmm.
and it does make me think of this game. I don't. Are you much of a gamer at all?
Not particularly.
Okay. Well, this is a little indie game that came out a few years ago called Inside, um, by the company Playdead, and in it's a side-scrolling game. You're just basically playing as this little boy who's running around through these environments, and there's a field, a factory, and then you end up kind of getting into this like laboratory kind of situation where you find out that people are getting experimented on, and it rolls pretty hard and fast into a body horror situation, like right when you're not expecting it to. And that too was just really expertly done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely, like, now that I think of it, I definitely want to read more body horror because it's more than I think what people assume it is.
Yeah. Well, I think people already like certain body horror and they don't maybe realize that it is body horror. Like, to me, zombie horror is body horror, cannibalism is body horror. I read last year A Certain Hunger. I don't know if you read that one yet.
I haven't read
By
that one.
Rachel Summers, I think is her name.
Hmm.
Or no, I'm sorry, not Rachel. Chelsea Summers.
Hmm.
And it's basically, it was what caught my eye about that one is it was they were calling it like a American Psycho through the lens of a woman,
Hmm.
and it very much delivered on that promise, but like just like cannibalism is another one where it's like, oh, squidgy, but it's in that one it was very psychological, and so it did everything for me that I wanted it to.
Okay. Hmm.
Let me see. But yeah, zombie horror definitely is one that's body horror that like it's infection, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's your body's, if you get infected, then you don't have control of your body anymore. Your body deteriorates. I mean, that's just the very essence of body horror.
Mm-hmm. So things like The Walking Dead has elements of body horror. That's certainly a show that most people have seen or had some experience
Mm-hmm.
with. Um,
Oh, and I think even Sporer, which is new,
yep,
right?
yep,
I think that's even considered, depending on the way that it's utilized in the story, it can be body horror.
yep.
I think it was a video game first, now it's a show, The Last of
The
Us.
Last of
That
Us,
one's
yeah,
horror, which I love. I love the concept of cordyceps, like making people zombies. I think that's great.
yeah,
But yeah, I think that people, once they see what body horror is, I think that they, oh yeah, that is something I'm interested in.
mm-hmm. What are some of your favorite body horror things, like films, TV
Yeah.
shows, books?
I think I already named some of them, but there is a movie that I don't hear a lot of people talking about anymore. Maybe they did back when it came out. It's called Contracted, and it's about a woman who contracts a sexually transmitted disease, but it's like bugs. Like there's bugs
Ooh.
inside of her. It's disgusting, and it just like the way that it comes on is so like gradual but then intense, and that's one of my favorite body horrors of all time. Also, one that I saw in the last few years, Titane. I don't know if you've heard of that one. It's a French film, and it's a woman basically has sex with a car, and like that, the body horror stems from that.
Okay.
It's a very French film. It's very weird, but
Huh.
that one was really good for body horror.
Interesting.
Um, and then um, one of my favorites of all time is It Follows, which I
Yeah.
think is really more psychological than body horror, but there
Yeah.
is a little aspect of body horror in that it's contagion. It's a disease that's it's like a spirit disease, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So um, yeah, those are some of my
Nice.
favorites.
Nice. Um, yeah, for some reason, I know I've heard of Titane, but I did not equate it with being a horror film at all for some reason. But I'm definitely going to have to check that out.
Oh yeah, it was on one of the streaming channels for free not too long ago.
Hmm. Okay. Um, have you watched any Cronenberg?
Well, I mean, obviously, The Fly is
Yep.
like, classic. Thank you for the reminder. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. There was a, I had it in my notes. I took notes for this, but The Fly was based off of a body horror story, and I'll have to
Oh,
look at my
I
notes to
can't.
remember what that was. I forget
Yeah,
now.
I don't
It's
remember.
not Naked Lunch, but it's something like that. Um, but yeah, definitely Cronenberg. I haven't seen the new one yet.
Yeah,
Or his son also made a new one, but
yeah,
the Crimes of Our Future haven't seen that one yet.
yeah.
But
Crimes
yeah.
of Our Future, I think, is on Hulu right now,
Um,
and I've been meaning to watch it, but I'm also at that point where I'm kind of like, you know, might need time to like get up and take a break if it's a little too
yeah.
too much, but
Mm-hmm. But that's the nice thing about streaming at home. You can do that.
yes,
You can break it up if you have to.
yes. Um, yeah, that's. I was trying to. I also had a list, and I was trying to mentally keep it
Yeah.
and not write it down, but I failed miserably. Trying to remember some of the other ones. I had looked at a list the other day, and Annihilation had been written down on the list, and I think that
It's almost four. That one's another one that's
that's
four, right?
yeah, and it I don't. It's been so long since I've read the book that I
Yeah.
don't know if the if I got no, that does count. So yeah, the book and the film um, are definitely two that I would recommend for a number of different reasons. They're just very, very good um, examples of body horror. Um, how about in TV shows or books? Did you have any other examples of body horror loves that you wanted to share? Or
Yeah. Well, I think I already did.
you did?
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
like hashtag bag up, definitely.
Yep.
Like if you're looking for something contemporary, like good body horror, like I would go with that one.
Okay. Cool. All right. And that is put out by, isn't that Dark Heart
No, well, it was the other one. She's got
or
two
Dark
imprints. My Dark
Ink?
Library. That's that one. And
That's it.
actually, that whole collection is good so far. I've read almost all of them.
Um, how about your favorite genre paired with body horror? What do you?
Yeah, that's a tough one. See, I like zombies, but I love werewolf stuff, and I think that's like one of the best body horrors is
Mm,
werewolf. Like any werewolf, like like it's just like the absolute like loss of control, changing into something
mm-hmm.
else. Like I think that's one of the best vehicles for body horror.
Yep. You reminded me just now of one of the ones that I meant to bring up, which we did talk about on a previous episode, which was Ginger Snaps.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm,
just as a really good example of werewolf horror, but also a really good example of body horror. Um,
mm-hmm.
so add that to your list, viewers. Um, and where are we on time? I feel like we're flying through this. So
There you have.
let's see what. So how about you talk about some of your works in what you've in where body horror has kind of become uh, part of the genre in your books.
Oh, sure. Well, White Ibis, which you just read, thank you. I think that's the best example of body horror in my writing. In that it's subtle, but when but it's the theme runs all throughout. It's a very short novella, but the theme that it comes up against at the end, it plays through the whole storyline of transformation. one of the other things with body horror is that it isn't always something that is rejected.
Mm-hmm.
So like in hashtag thigh gap, the body horror is anorexia and bulimia and just in
Mm-hmm.
eating disorders. But that is embraced by the main character in that story. And the body horror in White Ibis is also embraced by the main character.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that when the main character in a story embraces the body horror that's happening to them, that adds a whole nother level of
Mm-hmm.
terror and just like, you know, surprise.
Yeah. Yes, it's not what you're expecting. Um, any plans to write any more body horror?
Oh, absolutely. I have another story called Girls Night Out that'll be coming out from Scribd and ebook and audiobook later this year. And I'll be
Awesome.
releasing it in paperback by myself. And then I'm sure whether it's the full theme of my stories or not, body horror always finds a way to sneak into my story in a little way. And I think that that's true of a lot of stories too. It's just a natural, thing
Mm-hmm.
for us to gravitate towards.
Yep, body horror just sneaks in there. Speaking of, the one thing that we kept joking about was the fact that we were doing this interview on Groundhog's Day, and I came across a pretty horrifying article on Twitter about the Canadian groundhog who died today.
I think I must have seen the same article.
Um, and how people are now saying that it's going to be like the end of days and there's going to be White Walkers and uh,
Oh, yeah,
everything else.
winter forever, which you being in Maine, I'm sure is not
Yeah,
something you.
well, it's going to be negative, with wind chill, it's going to be like negative 45 this weekend, which is
Oh
unheard
my
of.
gosh,
That does not happen in Maine
no,
generally.
that's wild.
So everybody is pretty freaked out up
Yeah.
here. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, maybe a winter body horror thing should be next on my agenda
Yeah.
if I survive. Uh,
You have to.
yeah, it's pretty hairy. Like you have to worry about just like do I have enough oil? Do I have, is the car going to actually start so that I can get to work?
Yeah.
Um, I can't imagine living uh, in places this cold that are this cold all the time.
Yeah. That's pretty extreme.
Yeah. Um, so for people who want to find your books, who want to delve into the body horror of White Ibis and look for Girls Night Out when it comes out, what's the best way for people to keep in touch with you and see what you've got going on?
Yeah. Well, there's always my website, wendydalrymple.com. My White Ibis and a few of my other books are available on Kindle Unlimited, and you can also get the paperback at Barnes& Noble and a few other places. And Scribd.com is where I'll be publishing a lot of horror in the next year, and hopefully beyond. That's where you'll be able to find a lot of my audiobooks and ebooks.
Cool.
Some of my romance too, if you're interested in.
Mm-hmm. So, how much do you? We're kind of getting off the topic of body horror, but I am generally like curious. How often would you say you write romance versus horror?
It used to be I would write. I wrote probably 75% romance, 25% horror, but now it's kind of shifting the other way because I was able to get my contracts that way with
Okay.
Scribd, and so yeah, I've always written horror, and I had the opportunity to write paranormal romance with Scribd, and I
Nice.
loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I also enjoyed writing rom coms, and so I was doing that for a while, and now I write romance also. Kind of like to take a breather in between writing horror. It kind of helps balance it out.
Yeah.
And so, but now that I've been able to secure more horror contracts, it's more like 25% romance, 75% horror.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, I have written one romantic comedy, which was in between writing horror books because of the factor of just like it's getting really dark. I need something to balance it out,
Yeah.
and that was nice. Just sort of taking a break from all the
Mm-hmm.
darkness, so I can
Yep.
totally understand.
Yeah, and I'm sure that it's that is the nice thing about being an indie author and being able to dabble in whatever other genres you want, and it helps you come back and be fresh and not because sometimes when I was primarily writing romance, I felt like I was writing the same thing over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
and so this kind of bouncing back and forth a little bit helps me you know
Yeah.
feel like I'm staying fresh.
And this, I feel kind of dumb for not knowing this, but Scribd is a platform that you publish on, and
It's yeah, they have it's like a they were saying that they're the Netflix for books, and so one of their main things is audiobooks. So I get contracted through them to write original content for them,
hmm,
and they secure the audiobook rights, and I get to have the digital and paperback rights.
that's really cool. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. I
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to publish these days.
yeah. No, I saw the name floating around a couple days ago because I was looking at audiobook stuff and I saw that they were somebody that did audiobooks too. So that's
Yeah.
really cool. Um,
Yeah, if you're like a heavy audiobook listener, it's one of the best deals out there. I'm like, obviously biased, but they have like a really great audiobook selection.
nice. Um, so those of you at home, check out Scribd, and you'll get probably a lot of options in body horror there as well, and you can check out all of Wendy's stuff there because she's absolutely prolific and has so many awesome stories to read. I'm just checking in with timing here. I'm gonna just see if I can get the chat up and see if anybody has done anything for the heck of it because we have some time here. Um, mm, it is no, not working still. Sorry about that. Um, but I think we've powered through our interview. I should have had some alternative questions to ask about body horror. Um, but I think you've definitely educated me about it and definitely educated a few people watching about it too. I'm definitely looking forward to checking out more in the genre, um, as should all of you watching. Um, so I think we're going to call it for the evening, also because technical difficulties are technical difficulties. Um, so thank you, Wendy, for joining us this evening to discuss body horror. It was a pleasure. Um,
Thank you for having me.
and uh, sort of stay tuned next week for episode 5. Wow, I can count. where we will have Robert P. Atone on the program to discuss familial horror. He'll be wearing a fancy hat, I'm told, so that should be very exciting. Um, Stay tuned for that, and I hope you all have a good evening.